This is a job for us in the private sector. What we need to do is make sure that we provide adequate daycare centers for these mothers so that they can get their GED, their associate's degree, their bachelor's degree, their master's degree.
You're assuming that these are mothers who aren't educated. I mean, I'm talking about women who make that.
Of them.
I don't know that you can.
If there's one thing about Ben Carson that we know already, it's his soft-spoken ability to shoot straight from the lip and make plenty of people wonder if he actually understands what he said. Let's rest assured he's getting the hint, because every time he says something controversial and mysterious, like that on The View, his polling numbers rise and he gets greater donations. Why and how does he get away with it? Questions then for the political animal. First up, former spokesman for President George W. Bush, author of The War on Millennials, and senior project manager at Hathaway Strategies. Welcome back, Pete Seat. Joined by the veteran writer for the National Review Online, attorney, author, military veteran, David French. Gentlemen, a pleasure to see you both again. And Pete, I'm going to begin with you. Look, Ben Carson makes that statement. He says about the Oregon shootings, I wouldn't just stand there and let him shoot me. He also then talks about the fact that he would arm kindergarten teachers, and said that he'll wait for the next time to visit the victims in Oregon. Come on, Pete. He's an intelligent, brilliant man. Does he know what he's saying? Obviously, yes.
Well, there is no one I would rather have operate on me than Ben Carson, that's for sure. But sometimes it seems like he's inarticulate when it comes to campaigning. I mean, I find it difficult to watch him on television, actually. He's a very different Ben Carson on TV than he is on the stump. If you see him in person giving a speech, talking about his time in the operating room, he is an extremely inspirational figure. But then you put him on The View with hosts who are obviously not Republicans and who obviously want to bludgeon him to death. He just...
David, let me get to you here on this while Pete's talking about, he froze for just a second there, so I'm going to move to you. Is Ben Carson inarticulate, or is he brilliant in that he is saying exactly what a lot of these voters want to hear?
Ben Carson happens to be right on substance the vast majority of the time, and he's saying things that I think voters want to hear because they want to hear some truth. So when he was talking about the shooting in Oregon, look, no one, when you proclaim it, what the folks on Flight 93 did as heroism and the right way to respond to hijacking, that's not denigrating the people on the other flights who are doing what they were taught to do in cooperating with the hijacking. He's saying we need to have a paradigm shift, that we have to understand that this shelter-in-place mindset that's being inculcated in people is wrong. We need to immediately resist. So I think that's right. Is it sensitive? I'm not sure that we need to be playing the game that our presidential candidates have to always be the most sensitive people.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get away from sensitive here for a moment, because he's not running for Doctor of America. He's running for President of America. So is what he is saying smart, David?
Well, you got a doctor who has never held elective office, never run for elective office, and is now catching Donald Trump in many of the polls, and is far ahead of every professional politician right now. So in the purely political calculus, is it smart? As of right now, it's rather self-evident that it has been.
Okay, then let me get to that, Pete.
So we'll see.
Pete, let me ask you then the same thing, and we got to move on quickly here, but it would seem to be smart because the poll numbers are up. He's up against Donald Trump. But here's the question, Pete. Is it lasting? Will it last to the convention and into November of next year?
That's the key question. The short-term polling shows that it's, quote, smart, but this is a marathon and not a sprint, and I don't think these comments are going to be able to hold him up that much longer.
All right, let's go ahead and shift gears here. On Morning Joe, Congressman Trey Gowdy, and he was talking about certainly what Kevin McCarthy said. He said that no amount of practice doing interviews can prevent what is always inevitable, and this is a verbal gaffe. Here's what he said.
Kevin has apologized as profusely as a human being can apologize. I went back and watched the interview, and what I tell folks back home is I don't care how many times you put an earpiece in your ear and looked into a camera, you still screw up, and Kevin screwed up.
All right, David, did he screw up to the point where Kevin McCarthy has absolutely no chance of being Speaker of the House? And here's a second part of that in the short time we have. What is it about the Republicans that always seem that they shoot themselves in the foot every chance somebody puts a microphone in front of them?
People screwing up, that we all do. I do. Every one of us does. But when you're trying to be the Speaker of the House, forgiving someone is one thing, and we should forgive someone for messing up. But giving them the Speaker's gavel in spite of a mistake that colossal? No. This was an audition. He was in an audition period for the Speaker of the House, and that's no ordinary screw up. That is a gaffe of epic proportions that is essentially an in-kind campaign contribution to Hillary Clinton, and we don't want that.
Briefly, here he is. Here's Congressman McCarthy backtracking on the comments. Here he made these at a press conference.
Benghazi is not political. It was created for one purpose and one purpose only: to find the truth on behalf of the families of the 4 dead Americans. Period. I've been very clear about this, and don't use politics to try to change this around.
Pete, does Kevin McCarthy deserve to be Speaker of the House?
He's going to become Speaker of the House. He's already locked in.
But does he deserve it?
Yeah, I mean, his audition period has been going on for years, not just one interview or 2 weeks after John Boehner steps down. He made a mistake. Trey Gowdy obviously disappointed in that mistake. I happened to catch the interview live this morning, and Trey made great points that they have interviewed some 50 witnesses. This hasn't been about Hillary Clinton. This has been about getting to the bottom of what happened in Benghazi and why there were security lapses. And she is one of the people they're going to interview here in the coming days.
Yep.
But it hasn't been about her. It's been about Benghazi from the start.
And it will be about that, hopefully, from here to the end, whatever that may be. Pete Seat, David French, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. Next up, another example of what makes America a land of people who truly care about those who can't care for themselves, of the four-legged variety.